things are going to get worse. And I'm telling people right here and now that are listening to this, they haven't seen anything yet. Nothing. This is the opening act. Right. I don't even know if we're in the opening act yet, but it's going to get much, much worse. Just be ready, like I said, every way you can, and get together with like-minded people in your community that you can rely on in a worst case scenario. Look, if we don't get a worst case scenario, fantastic. But if we do, at least you're ready for it.
I am so excited to have my very good friend and returning guest here today, Gregory Mannarino, known as the Robin Hood of Wall Street, for sharing his knowledge of Wall Street with Main Street, which he had learned and gleaned from a stint at the now defunct Bear Stearns. Gregory is an active full-time trader of the capital markets with a worldwide following. And what I love so much about him is his no apologies approach. As he says, in life, there are the sheep who live in fear, and then there are the lions who capitalize on it. And this is definitely a time when we can capitalize, or at least that time is coming up. Thank you for taking your time with us today, Gregory, and welcome back. You know, the other thing that you said, which is so applicable to today, is on the edge of control.
Yeah. So yeah, we should talk about that too.
I want to talk about that, especially with the Bank of England.
Yeah.
And I heard the incredible piece you did on the bonds. So let's talk about the government bond market that the whole world was sold as the safest thing that you could do.
Yeah, well, you know, whenever they tell you something like that, you know the polar opposite is true.
Absolutely. But
alrighty.
Well, but I do want to talk more about it because it seems like the test of credibility of the Bank of England is going on right now, which is kind of interesting.
We should definitely talk about that because I have a lot to say about that.
Please.
About what they're doing and how they played it, how they sold it to the people. It was all live from get-go. Oh, it's going to be temporary. They're only going to do it for a couple of weeks. Yeah, sure. You know, it's a joke. And the way they sell things, it's anyway, I won't make any funny sounds like that.
Well, you can make all those funny sounds because viewers love that. They want to see the real Gregory Mannarino. And I do too.
It's crazy.
So tell me what you think about it. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Well, I think it's insane. I mean, come on now. They sell this thing to the people. Oh, you know, we're going to be doing this on a temporary basis and it'll be over in a couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, hold on a second. You know, how about no? How about we're going to be not only, you know, keeping it going longer, but we're going to double it. It's not going anywhere. In my view, this is the way things are going to go. Look, we understand the situation here. I think it's pretty clear. Mm-hmm. Everybody, I think, who has even the slightest understanding of what's going on here, how the debt hyper bubble is out of control. It's not going to stop until it does. Okay, watching the instability in the debt market, looking at global bond yields, watching this knee-jerk higher reaction into the dollar because of debt market instability here. And it's not just me and you saying this stuff anymore. It's a lot of people. It's getting coverage here on the mainstream media. Exactly. I mean, what do we hear from Market Watch today? A bond market crash is like imminent. That's what they're saying. There was an opinion piece they had. I love hearing this stuff when you see the mainstream talking about stuff that you've been saying for like forever. Well, you know, I think that's a positive thing. I just wonder what's behind it though. Right. Why now? Why, you know, like they didn't know there is an issue here for like a really, really long time.
We've been talking about treasury market illiquidity since what, 2015, 2014?
Long time.
A long time.
A long time. You know, look, it's just the game that they play, and that's okay. Look, the issue I think is most people have no clue. People like you and me and the people that follow our work, they're rare. They're very rare people that understand the financial system at its core, how it works, why things are being driven the way they are, the game that is played via the propaganda ministry, along with everything else. It's a rare thing to understand it, and I think that's what makes our work, you and me and a couple other people, is so important. Is because we're able to put it together to people in a way that they can get it. You can't learn this stuff in business school. I don't think, how many people write to me, I'm sure you get the same thing. People write and say, how do you learn this stuff? Well, I went to business school and I was never taught this, but it's so obvious now that I see it. I don't know what it is. Some people are just more in tune to it. And I'd like to think that the people that follow our work get it, because you and I put it into a perspective that they can understand.
I try. Well, you're a car guy, so if you can share your perspective on this, because it seems like central banks and governments have their feet on the brakes to the floor and the gas to the floor at the same time. So if you did that, you're trying to drive a car. What would that do to the car?
Well, it wouldn't function too well now, would it? I mean, I think that's going back. What did Janet Yellen? Did you hear what she just said? They just interviewed her. Oh, the financial system is functioning fine. Ignore everybody, me, you, all the warnings from the IMF, the World Bank. I mean, we're getting warnings here from the IMF. I call them International Mafia Fund. I think you might refer to them like that as well. And the World Bank and all these other people that, ignore everybody. President Waller. Oh, I don't see any problems with liquidity. Oh, no, it's all fine and perfect. It's lovely. Just ignore it. Look, it's just, I hate it because they can't tell the truth. We can't get the truth anywhere anymore. And that's why, again, I think channels like yours, and I would like to think mine, are valuable to people, because they see it before their own eyes. Okay, they're being told one thing, and then of course, they listen to the mainstream and, well, hold on a minute, that's not what Lynette said, that's not what Greg said. So like, what's the situation? But then they see it and it becomes clear to them once you open their eyes as to what's actually going on here. So you're absolutely right. It's always double talk here. Central banks talking about, oh, we're going to be raising rates, and that's the issue here. The rates are too low, and that's why inflation is skyrocketing. So what we're going to do here is raise rates, raise them. And guess what? Inflation continues to go higher, and it's just not going to stop. But this is what they're doing. This is what they sell this stuff to the people who have no idea. They think it sounds good because this guy or this woman wearing a nice outfit and a nice tie with their hair done. Oh, it must be right because they look like an authority figure. But no, it's just garbage how they package this stuff, sell it to people, and they tell them, well, don't worry about it. We got it all under control. And nothing could be further from the truth, in my view. My perspective is pretty simple. Central banks run it all. They're running the entire show. The rest of it is just a sideshow act theater. Right. And, look, I would like to think the main thing, the real reason why I'm out here, and I think is because we're trying to enlighten people as to what is happening, where we're going here. And this is a game of incomplete information. It always is.
It always is.
You and me, what we do is we look at the overall picture, say, okay, what are the most likely outcomes? And then we got to fill in blanks. I mean, nothing, obviously, everything's changing. It's very liquid. It's very fluid. So, we could make errors in what we say because we're trying, but we don't do it on purpose. Obviously, we're trying to come up with the best scenario, and no one can be 100% right 100% of the time. But as long as you're right most of the time, I think we'll be okay. But the fact of the matter is, this game that we play, we're participating in, is complicated. So we got to fill in those blanks. And, that's where this becomes an art form, I think. And again, I think people get that for the most part, at least I hope so. But look, I think that we are making a difference. We've both been out here for quite a long time. We have relatively large followings, and they're loyal. Your followers are so loyal to you. They write to me, well, they love you. They literally love you. They're like, oh my goodness, Greg, did you see this piece? Did you see what she's talking about over here? And I mean, that's fantastic. That says that you're making a difference with these people in their lives, and they're able to understand these things, and they're out saying, hey, did you hear this? Did this make sense to you? Look, I always tell people who are new, especially to my work, is If I'm making sense to you, fantastic. If you're connecting with me, that's great. If I'm not, find somebody who is. But as long as you're getting awake, look, we're not going to connect with everybody, unfortunately.
No.
I wish we could, but that's not the way it works. We have to, you got to get on the same wavelength as or frequency as another guy or another girl who sees things your way. And it's a rare thing, I believe, in this environment, because people are so dumbed down, brainwashed, and they're just propagandized every freaking day of their life. So when they hear what is the truth, what do? What's their first reaction? Is generally they get angry.
Right.
They get angry first.
Right.
And then they get it and say, hold on a minute. You know what? That makes sense. I think I'm going to go back and listen to Lynette more. I'm going to go back and listen to Greg more. But people's initial reaction, I think, to hearing something that is maybe they feel is shocking because it's totally contrary to what they're being fed by the mainstream, is anger. They don't get it. So the knee jerk is anger or fear. No reason to be afraid or angry. You just got to act on it. If you see what's going on, I think things become clear to you and the fear level drops, the anxiety level will drop. So I have had many people throughout the years who used to watch me and then they stopped and, Greg, what you said is actually making sense to me now. So I'm back here and now it makes sense to me. And I love that. I'm sure you get the same thing.
Yeah. And, one of the things that you said is how it's sold. Because one of the things that is a personal pet peeve of mine is they'll make a statement, but there's absolutely zero to back it up. Like they're just making this statement like that's a matter of fact, and people just swallow it. And, I recently read the new reports that came out on the CBDCs. And I have to tell you, they scared the crap out of me. Because the way they're going to sell it is that, well, if we go to a CBDC, there will be no more inflation. We can guarantee that there will be no more inflation. That's because it's going to be all deflation with negative rates. But the other thing that I saw, and I want your opinion on this, number one, I want your opinion on that. Do you think that the central banks controlling absolutely everything, including your spending habits, and where you can spend it and how long it's alive, programmable money that they can constantly change according to what's happening in the economy, that is created from purchases, which is what I've been watching for. Now they finally confirmed it, which is also like it has no value. And there's only now two functions of money, which is just as a tool of measure and a tool of barter, and they've removed any store of value short term, so you get fairly paid for your wages, or long term, they just took that out. That just evaporated into thin air. I don't know when they did that piece. I couldn't quite figure that out. But, what do you think about the way that this is going to be sold, and can they indeed guarantee no inflation once they are in full control?
Well, listen to the word that you just let off. It's all about control. I've been telling people the same thing as you are right now. This is about full control. And I'll tell you the scarier part to me, and I've been screaming about this from rooftops for the longest time, control of a population that is vastly smaller than we have today.
Right.
To me, the debt hyper bubble is the greatest threat to humankind, period, the end. When the debt bubble bursts, and it will, it's just a matter of time, it's going to suck down the economy, the financial system. It's going to, unfortunately, create disruptions in supply chains like we've never seen before. Resources will become unavailable. Talking about inflation, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to cause this current system to implode on itself by design here, introduce this new digital currency or whatever, however they're going to do it. They already know it's already there. It's just a matter of forcing the people to accept it. And in order for that to happen, they need a very large outcry. Of course, they're going to create, they're already creating the problem by hyperinflating the global debt. When that bursts, system, in my view, is going to lock up. We're going to have a locking up of the system. Transactions are going to stop. There's going to be pandemonium in the streets, and they're going to say, hey, you know what? we have a solution for you. Of course,
Yeah.
I mean, it's always the same thing, you know, problem, reaction, solution. And that's exactly what they're going to do here. And it's all about control. Yes, they're going to try to sell this to people every way that they can, but they're going to make people beg for it, which
Yep.
in my view is more than likely what's going to happen, other than, okay, inflation is out of control. That's absolutely true. We're seeing it now, despite what they're trying to do in the lie about selling us, you know, rates are too low, whatever it might be. Okay. They're going to crush the global economy, which they're already in the middle of doing. We haven't seen anything yet, in my view, followed up by a financial meltdown, which is going to be, I'm not even talking about a stock market crash. We're talking about a bond market meltdown here, which will obviously destroy global equity markets on a scale I don't think people can. I really believe that we can realistically expect an 80 to an 85% sell-off with regard to the S&P 500 from the top, okay? And that's going to change everything here. But that's just part of that's just a side effect here. The bigger effect is to introduce another method of control on a population that is more controlled and smaller as well. Look, I think what's coming, unfortunately, is going to be extremely bad for people. They need to prepare themselves, not just from a financial standpoint here, but for mentally, physically, spiritually. I tell people, get together with like-minded people in your community, form support groups. You know, look what they do. It's all about dividing and conquer. It's the same mechanism here. They lock you up in your house. You can't see people's faces. You know, wear that diaper on your face. You know, it's all about divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. It's always been that way forever. It's never going to change. The mechanism works. So keep people divided via, you know, race, religion, politics, you know, whatever, skin color, whatever it might be. Just keep them that way, and then they're easier to control. It's all about control. And what people can expect, in my view, and I've been saying this like forever now, is it's going to get a lot worse, and it continues to get worse. People are getting strangled to death here. And that's the other thing that drives me crazy. One of my peeves here is you got the mainstream propaganda ministry making people think that this is all just by chance. This is all just by accident that it happened. There is no way that this is, you know, because look, people like you and I have been explaining this is going to happen for a very long time. Well, did we just conjure this up out of our own heads, or did we just were able to see a little further down the line? You know, that's the difference, I think, between some people, is they're able to just look. I'm no smarter than anybody else. That's the truth. But maybe I'm able to see a little further down the road because I'm able to put things together in a way that makes sense to people. And that's the most important thing, like I was saying before. But absolutely, this is all about control. How they're going to package this, in my view, and sell it to people is inflation is out of control. The global economy is collapsing. The financial system has locked up here. There's no interbank lending. There's no interbusiness lending. You can't access anything anymore. People are going wild in the streets saying, we have the solution. Oh yeah, ding, ding, ding. And this is what it's going to be. And people are going to beg for it. They need people to be on their knees and begging for a new system, because people are going to rebel against it at first, but not if they can get more people. Right now, what are they doing? They're getting more and more people dependent on the system. How many people can they make dependent on the system? Once they got most people locked up, and look what's happening here. This new feudal system that I've been warning about for years and years. Extreme haves, extreme have-nots. I wipe out of the middle class. What's happening to the middle class here? Their savings rate is negative. Okay, personal debt, household debt, consumer debt off the Richter scale. It's not stopping it, and they can't make ends meet. They can't pay utility bills. I mean, all the things that we've spoken about for years, it's happening. So people should, and I think that's another reason why both of our channels are starting to, we're getting bigger, quicker, because people are saying, hey, look at these people. Look at Lynette. Look at Greg. The stuff they've been saying is actually happening. Wow. Well, you know, all our detractors for all those years, you know, I'm sure you got hit with them just like I did. Well, they have nothing to say now, do they?
No. But I want to go back to the bond market, because I am absolutely in agreement with you. That is, outside of derivatives, which I also want you to address, you know, the largest market, and it seems like they're intentionally crashing it, right? With their foot on the gas and right at the same time. This
Of
looks
course.
planned to me. I'm sorry, it does. I hate to say
It
that.
is a plan. That's why they're inflating and inflating, and they can't stop inflating. Look, at its core, people don't understand how the system works. It's debt based. It demands that
Right.
cash be borrowed into existence in greater and greater amounts. Exponentially, it can't stop. This program, this act, this war expansion, this warp speed vaccine, whatever it might be, to pull cash into the now. That's all it is, because the system it's already a liquid, and they have to continue to add cash to it. Otherwise, it implodes. So imagine for a nanosecond, we had a politician or someone would tell the truth. Hey, listen, everyone, I got to let you on a big secret. This is how the system works. This is why we can't have a budget, why we have to have this stopgap measure to fund the government, because it must continue to inflate. It can't stop. Once we stop, I mean, look, I've been telling people for years, you want to end the Fed? We can end the Fed in a nanosecond. Stop them, prevent them from issuing $1 of debt. Just one single dollar. They implode. That's it. Their ability to inflate is their Achilles heel. If we can pull that, if we can somehow take that, it won't happen, because again, they got the world by the throat. They run the financial system, they run the economy, they're driving it into the ground by design, leading up to this climax that you and I have warned about forever, that is going to happen, and it's already starting. Look, the effects are everywhere. Surging inflation, a population that is suffering here, the double speak, the propaganda being pushed, and all these other, we're doing great, Janet Yellen, financial system is strong. Reminds me of Ben Bernanke when he said, subprime, right, it's going to be contained. They just gave this guy the Nobel Prize in economics.
Oh my God.
Are you kidding me? Make it up. Make it up.
God. It's true, but do you think that the problem that they're having over in England could be the canary in the coal mine and the start of the unraveling of the government bond market in advanced economies? And then what happens to all those derivatives on top?
Well, we'll start off with the first part of that. I think it was. I was telling, when I was watching the bond market kind of sell off here globally and bond yields rising, I kept saying they got to take action, or this thing is literally going to implode like now. And no action was being taken, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. Stock market was obviously reflecting that. Then all of a sudden, blink. Bank of England had said, okay, we're gonna start buying bonds here temporarily, just for a few weeks, and now all of a sudden the major backpedal. Now they've increased it twofold from what I realize, from what I understand, they doubled it, and
but they
I think
said that's going to be over on Friday.
Yeah,
it
sure.
Just came out today. I mean,
Yeah.
Today is Tuesday the 11th. So
Yeah,
they just came out
we'll
today.
see how that plays out, because they're already pushing the narrative. Today was they're doing this to stabilize the financial system. Or was it all of a sudden going to get stable just because they stopped buying bonds? No, the instability is inherent. It's in the system, and it's coming apart. If central banks don't take more action, look, in my view, we could be sincerely on the cusp of a complete meltdown of the system. And I mean, this was the front page of Market Watch, that we could be on the edge of a crash in the bond market. Finally, it's getting some traction here. Absolutely, this whole thing is dependent on that. It could absolutely be the canary in the coal mine, but we have to see what they're going to do. Look, they don't have too many choices. They can continue to inflate, which will dilute the currency even further and exacerbate inflation. They can't, look, they want to convince people that they can't, have their cake and eat it too. You can't just get in here and just buy assets with cash that they just make, could conjure up out of thin air, and there not be a price to pay for it here. And we're seeing that reflect now. Yes, maybe this thing is going to melt down. We just got to keep our eyes on global bond yields. Watch this knee-jerk reaction in the dollar, which has been going on for quite a while.
Strong dollar.
Over a year ago, I was telling people, watch. My prediction was that the relative strength of the dollar compared to other currencies is going to continue to rise, and it was going to be shocking to people. Well, I think that played out pretty well. And I don't think we're done. That knee-jerk higher in the dollar, I think, is a big tell that there are bigger issues here. And it's really, it's interesting how they sell that to people too. Oh, the dollar is strong. No, the dollar's purchasing power is getting sucked out.
Right.
But on a relative basis, we got it. We got, the dollar's still the prettiest belle at the ball, but that doesn't mean that it's a great place to be. And I think anyone that's in cash has got to be high as a kite. I've been telling people that for the longest time. They're killing, these central banks are in a race to the bottom. They're killing their currencies by design. And now we're seeing the effects of it. Now you got the Bank of England jumping in here, quantitative easing squared, and we're going to see what else happens here. Now, with regard to derivatives, look, it's just people, when people hear that word, I think they freeze like a deer in the headlights. It's the most simple thing on earth to understand. A derivative is just a derivative is a side bet. It derives value, derivative from an underlying asset. So, and then as you well know, there are layers of these. You have side bets on side bets. You have derivatives of derivatives. The system is so twisted, and there's no way to actually quantify how big it is. That's the thing too. It's too big for people to get their head around. So what do? They ignore it.
But what's coming up in 2023 is they have to shift all those derivative contracts that don't have the SOFR language in there, still has the LIBOR language in there, which means lots and lots of even legacy derivatives prior to 2008. And that's all of those derivatives are supposed to shift into the SOFR language in 2023. So do you think that could be one of the reasons why we're seeing this level? It looks to me like they're trying to crash the system to justify that because they know they can't make that transfer.
Let's see how low. Look, Lynette, this thing could end next week. Let's see how if we even make it into 23. Who knows? I just have my eyeballs and mind fixated on what bonds are doing. What are global bond yields doing? Are they going to stop? Are they going to continue to sell off here? Are central banks going to take more action? Are we really at that moment where they're going to let it go? Absolutely, that could play out to be a problem. I don't know how they're going to manage to shift one thing into the other, if it's even going to work, or
what's even actually going to work.
Yeah,
they can't do it. They can't do it.
We're going to see. Look, I see what you see, and I believe is a financial system that is crumbling around us, and it's just look, it's the mainstream talking about it now, Lynette. Finally, you and me and some other people too, way ahead of the curve, way ahead of the curve on this, and to see some of this stuff getting attention on the mainstream is shocking to me. Look, they never tell the truth to people. They want to keep people happy and glee. Everything's great. Go out and spend. Go melt that credit card. But the fact that it's getting attention is pretty intense to me. And maybe that tells us that we are on the cusp of it. I don't know. All I know is when I wake up every day, the first thing I don't care, even what stock futures are doing. I don't care. I want to know what the 10-year yield is doing. Yes. That's number one. And then I want to say, okay, what are global bond yields doing? What's happening over in Europe here? What is this central bank saying? Because you got to decipher that too. When a central bank is trying to get you to look in one direction, something's wrong. You got to look in this. You say, hold on a minute here. Why do they want me to look there? No. That's a distraction. Let's dig a little deeper and find out what's really going on. That's how I look at everything here. I'm saying, okay, why is the media why are they focusing on this? Why? Because something else is going on. Let's just do a little research into that. And it just seems pretty obvious to me, whatever they say, just think the opposite and you're going to be fine.
Can we talk a little bit about gold and what's happening in the gold market? Because the spot market obviously is getting whacked because after all, you can make so much more money on those treasury interest rates. And yet, what I noticed when I was preparing for the event this past weekend was that the physical market in the collectible coins has broken out to a high. And in the ultra rare coins, boy, that thing is soaring. And also in China, they're paying a $43 premium to the LBMA spot market.
Well, I'll tell you something interesting. There's a couple of places out here that I just go into and I see what they have laying around with regard to gold and silver. And I happen to know, I don't want to mention any names, but there's a place near me where I go in, I have a good relationship with the guy. And he says to me, Greg, as soon as people come in here, it goes out the door. He goes, I can't keep it. He had a couple of silver pieces in there, some gold pieces in there, but he can't keep it because people aren't stupid. I think they get it. I think they understand what they're seeing here, and they're willing to pay the premium to hold the real thing. I got it all over my desk, all freaking over.
Me too. Me too.
I got it everywhere. My desk. I love to look at it, play with it, kiss it. You know, it makes me happy to have this stuff. Look at it. You and me were so funny. Is it, look, are we nuts? But
no, we're safe. We're safe.
People are getting it. They're starting to understand it. At least some people are. Look, I've said this exact thing, that this is some kind of a natural selection. And then even those of us that are the most prepared, we may not get through this, because I feel that they're pushing us into a worst case scenario. That is a meltdown of the debt bubble, a new system. And it's going to take a lot of people with it by design, more control. And we really could be on the cusp of this happening. We just, and the beauty of this is we don't have to guess. I don't know if you're familiar with the MMRI, the Mannarino Market Risk Indicator.
Yes.
It's something I have on my website. It's very, very simple. It's a little neat equation that uses the 10-year yield, the relative strength of the dollar with a little cute math, and then it comes up with the number. When the MMRI first came out, it was in the 80s. Okay, we are now almost at 300. Over 300, according to how I've set this up, is extreme risk. Right now we're at 277 again.
Oh wow!
When it first came out, it was only at 8 in the 80s. It was green. Everything was looking good. The market was going up and up and up and up and up and up. And you know, now that we're getting into the higher ranges, it's free. It's right on my website, traderschoice.net.
And we have the links to everything. All the access to.
Look at it, check it out. It's a really good indicator of what's driving the market based on credit risk. It's really all it is, and that risk is rising. And you know, look, I've been telling people for weeks, you know, if you're long the stock market, you should be maybe thinking of hedging your position somehow, get out of the market altogether, let this ride out, have some kind of way to at least protect your investment. And a lot of people, they're stuck in things they can't get out of. Exactly. Which is unfortunate. You know, an investment that only makes money as the market goes up. And of course, that's a setup in itself too. Imagine who set something like that up? Oh, you can only make money when the market goes higher, you know, but.
Well, we've got this massive retirement issue that's been going on,
of course,
which is justification for the Bank of England's move.
Yeah, but, absolutely. Yes. And I think that's something you've spoken about way in the past on one of our interviews where we spoke about that. And that's a huge problem. You know, all these people believe they're entitled to it, and they are. A lot of people have put a lot of cash into this. But look, the system is just, it's illiquid. They don't have the money to pay. And it's just coming apart in my view. In fact, that was the title of one of my videos. It's coming apart. It really is coming apart. And if they don't get a handle on this soon, this whole thing is going to implode. Period. The end. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when, whether it's going to be next week, tomorrow, a month from now. Keep your eyes on the global debt market, all the things that we're speaking about here. And you don't have, if you listen to Lynette and Greg, you don't have to guess. All right. Right. I think we take a lot of the, you know, no one's going to be able to point at a time or a place or whatever, but we can get close by first of all, keeping people prepared, letting them understand what's going on. Okay. That's humongous. Make them understand that where we're going, where central banks and so-called governments are driving the world right now, and that none of this, in my view at least, and I would think you would agree, is by accident. No. You know, it's amazing how people that understand the markets like you and I see the same thing. You think that's by accident too? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I agree with you. And that's why you're sitting with the gold and the silver on your desk, because at least you hold your purchasing power. You know, we see who's going to be washed out. Right? And then you can go in and pick up bargains. Yeah.
Unfortunately, most people are going to lose. It's always that way. And it's happening very fast. The destruction of the middle class, which has been a slow burn for very, very, very many decades, but it's obviously accelerating. there's no such thing as a trickle down. It always goes up. The 1% and 2% is doing fantastic at the expense of everybody else. And there's no way to stop it. That's how the system is designed. The people at the lower rung, they're already done. The middle, it's a wealth transfer effect, something you and I have spoken about on a grand scale.
Right.
And it's really going to get going. Look, how I see this playing out is eventually that meltdown in the debt market is going to crush the stock market, and then cash, it doesn't grow money wings and just fly away to money heaven. It's going to go into commodities. And I think commodities are going to skyrocket to, on a grand scale when this thing really, really gets going, as the purchasing power of the currencies continues to just dissolve. And that isn't getting better anytime soon. It's all about rates and rates and rates. They're not telling people that the real issue here is the currency. We're in a currency free fall. We've been in the currency free fall. It's a race to the bottom, and it's going to get progressively worse here. Look, they've lulled people into some kind of sense of maybe things are going to get better, but they're not going to. And that's been my main theme for a very, very long time. Things are going to get worse. And I'm telling people right here and now that are listening to this, they haven't seen anything yet. Nothing. This is the opening act. Right. I don't even know if we're in the opening act yet, but it's going to get much, much worse. Just be ready, like I said, every way you can, and get together with like-minded people in your community that you can rely on in a worst case scenario. Look, if we don't get a worst case scenario, fantastic. But if we do, at least you're ready for it. And that's important.
Kind of hard to imagine that we're not, especially when you have, the IMF and the Federal Reserve and the Treasury and the BIS all telling you to get prepared for a crisis. And
especially when you have the Federal Reserve saying they don't care how bad they hurt the economy. You had Evans yesterday, Fed President Evans. Oh, we don't care. We don't care if people lose their jobs. That's what he said. Really, you would care if it were your job, sir. Right. But everybody else don't matter. That should tell people something, honestly. It was a pretty big eye opener for me. They're getting to the point, they're getting so brazen that they don't care anymore. They're like, screw you, screw your family and everybody else. We're just going to destroy you because that's what we're really out to do. And, we got a little bit of truth yesterday from them. They don't care at all. Yeah. They're working towards their goal and they're not going to stop.
And the funny thing is they admit that they can't really stop this inflation. All they can do is destroy demand destruction.
And along with it, I'm so happy you brought that up because that's what they're doing. It's demand destruction, deliberately crushing the global economy here. And people are already suffering on an unbelievable scale here. They can't get by. They can't make ends meet like we were talking about at the beginning here. Right. Savings rates in the negative, borrowing beyond their eyeballs just to survive. And now you have central banks saying, hey, we're going to make it a lot harder for you. Oh, imagine that. But that's what they're doing by design. You don't even have to guess. They're telling you.
It's true. And the other thing that is like driving me crazy when it comes to energy, right? You've got the Middle Eastern currencies that are pegged to the US dollar. If they make that choice to depeg, which they've certainly been going in that direction, and leaning more toward China as far as buying all their petrol and accepting yuan for it. I mean, what kind of impact do you think that might have on the US dollar? And we come out and say, oh, you bad people. I mean.
You want to tell you, I'm going to write it down. And it's very simple. It's 3 letters. You probably know what they are already. Are you ready? This is where, if that happens, and you can expect this.
Yeah. 100%.
On a grand scale. Forget about what we're seeing now,
100%.
because that's what they're going to do. There's just no doubt about it here. And they'll sacrifice this. They'll spill blood and guts and lives all over the world to look. Why is it, for example, let's back up a moment. What is, the answer to this, but I'm just going to say, I'm going to pose this as a question here. What is the United States' biggest export? Well, the answer, and the answer is pretty clear. It's inflation. The reason why, and I said this just yesterday or the day before, inflation is bad here. It's surging in other parts of the world worse. We're going to get hit with it last because, again, US dollar being the world reserve. If that becomes threatened in any way, They'll kill whoever they have to kill, as many people as they have to kill. You will see an expansion of war on an unbelievable scale, in my view. The amount of lives that have already been sacrificed for the fiat monetary system, the petrodollar, which made the US dollar the world reserve currency, is unbelievable. And they will not stop. And unfortunately, the Federal Reserve has, because of the existence of the petrodollar system, has the backing of the US military, all of it, including its nuclear arsenal. People don't know that. Even people who in the military don't know that. I was a lieutenant in the Navy, and I used to tell people this stuff. They had no clue. They're like, no, we don't. The US military is not mandated to protect oil of OPEC nations. Oh, yes, they are. Oh, yes. And that's how the US dollar keeps its reserve status. If that ever gets threatened, seriously, who knows what they'll do, other than destroying the lives of whoever they have to, and millions of people.
I'm so sorry to say that. It's almost like they're poking the bear with
them, absolutely.
You know, right. Yeah. I mean, hey, they cut production, OPEC plus cut production, and of course we've cut production here, but they should produce more. Although it doesn't really matter. And the I mean, energy is a huge problem, and it's been weaponized on so many different levels.
The whole system's been weaponized, but absolutely, energy is humongous. I mean, you know, the banks benefit from higher crude. Who funds the whole damn thing? It's the energy sector, obviously. The financial sector benefits from it. People have no idea what's going on and where this is going. I really hope people are starting to pay more attention to this. I really do. And I think they are, especially people that are listening to this right now. I think maybe some people are going to get a wake-up call, and I hope people share this. I hope they get it out there. I hope they start talking about it. Don't just listen to this kind of stuff and let it go in one ear and out the other. What are you going to do about it is really what I want people to come away from this saying to themselves, okay, now that I have a better understanding of what's going on, what am I going to do about it? How can I at least get myself in the right spots, like we were talking about before? You know, understanding the situation is key. And if you have an understanding of it, at least you can make a plan for it, because it's not going to stop until they hit their goal. And their goal is, again, control on a grand scale, on a global scale, much more than what we have now. And a population that's paying the price, but the price that they're already paying is nothing, in my view, as to what's coming. So people just need to be ready for it, at least as much as they can. If you anticipate things are going to be bad and you prepare for it, at least if it happens, you're ready. That's all. There's nothing wrong ever with being ready or prepared for what looks to me, and I believe you, as you said, a worst case scenario. They're driving it by design. This is no accident. It drives me crazy when I talk to people like you do, I'm sure, and they don't get it. They don't see any of it because they live in this other kind of reality that it's been sold to them via the media outlets. Look, people's lives are dictated by what they watch on television. Tell-lie-vision. You know, tell the people a lie through the television, propagate it, tell them what to look at, what to buy, what to pay attention to. They really got the world by the throat. And the free thinkers are the ones that are going to have the best chance of getting through this. Not a guarantee, but have the best chance of getting through this, you know. We're going to restrict our movement, free action, free thought, all that. If you're a free thinker, you're the enemy. You're their number one enemy.
Yes.
They don't want free action. They don't want free thought. Any of that stuff, you become the enemy. And I'd like to think that you and I are building up armies of people who see this, who are opposed to what we're seeing here, and maybe they're getting together with like-minded people, and together we can make a difference. But there's going to be a lot less people eventually. Eventually, I believe we're going to see a lot less people on this planet.
Yeah.
Whether it's via the implosion of the financial system, war, expansion of war, propagation of war. People don't get it, that war generates more cash for the corporations, the military industrial complex, than any other endeavor on earth. People are not told this stuff, but it's the truth. That's why we have perpetual wars, expansion of wars, funding of wars that we didn't even vote for. We have no say-so. Land of the free, home of the brave, it doesn't exist anymore, not in this new reality.
No, it doesn't. But, everything that you're saying is why I formulated my mantra, which I personally live by. So food, water, energy security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. You
Huh,
know, these are all
that's
of
a
the things.
beautiful, you got to put that in the newsletter.
I actually, we started a new website, Beyond Gold and Silver,
Hmm,
to that we address all of that
yeah.
because it isn't just gold and silver are the foundation because it's real money and you have the broadest base of buyers. So I feel like it's an arsenal that I get to go to this war with. But you
Mhm.
can't eat food and gold and silver. You can convert it maybe into food, but yeah, we have to get you down here so you can see the mantra in real life.
Yeah, I love it. I think what you just said is perfect. Nice way to put it so people can understand. And it's so true. Look, like
Right.
wealth preservation, growing your wealth, it's all well and good. It's fun. And, it's a game to me in many, many ways, but all the other stuff is way more important. I always tell people our greatest resource is each other. And I've been telling people
Yes.
this for the longest
All
time.
right.
We need each other. You need to rely on people. If you can have people you trust. And let me tell you something, I learned a couple of harsh lessons as of late. People that you think you can trust, sometimes you can't. And you believe in these people, and they aren't who they think who they pretend to be a lot of times, and they got to be careful of that. I'm a very trusting guy. I like to believe in people, and throughout my life, I've unfortunately been on the uh wrong end of that, believing in people, and they turn around and they turn out to be not what they pretend to be. But look, I think if we live by what you said, I think that's very important.
Right.
Understand these things, and we're all going to be better off. Look, every Friday
Absolutely.
I leave off with three things. I tell people to love each other, care about each other, and be charitable. If we those three things, if we just did that,
Yes.
we would be better off. I mean, but again, if people would implement that, you'd become the enemy of the state, because you're not allowed to love each other. You're supposed to hate your neighbor, care about people. You're supposed to spit in their face, walk over them because of their religion, because of their politics, because of their skin color, because of their sex, but it's just, bring people together, be charitable, reach out to people, help people, lend a helping hand to someone. I promise you, that'll
Exactly.
come back to you. But if we did that, we'd become the enemy. And we already are. I mean, you
Well,
and
I
I
was just going to say, and
clearly on their radar.
well, I don't know if I'm big enough for that yet, but if I am, I'm honored to be on the radar because I'm not going to stop, just like you're not
No,
going to
you are
stop.
on their radar. Are you kidding me? You and me, they're watching what we do, what we say. I'm surprised we're still out here, because we're trying to tell people the truth. And the truth, people are not allowed to hear it. What do? They get angry at first, they get confused, but then they get it.
Then they get it.
People generally know the truth when they hear it.
Hmm.
And that's something I picked up from my friend. I like to still think of Greg Hunter. We haven't spoken in a very, very long time, but he said that to me once, and it stuck in my head. He said, "Greg, people know the truth when they hear it." And a bell went off in my head. I said, "You know what? You're absolutely right."
He's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Well, this has been great, but do you have any parting words, things that you want people to know before we leave this really fun interview? And I really do have to get you down here at some point.
Yeah, well, pay attention to Lynette. Please watch my show. We're going to tell you how it is. We're not going to sugarcoat it. We're not going to
Yep.
lie. We're going to tell you what we think is happening. And I want people to make up their own minds. Look, I don't want to convince people of a damn thing. I want people to listen to conversations like these and make up their own minds. Does it make sense to you? Am I out of my
It's
mind? Is
simple.
Lynette out of her mind too? Are we two crazies, or are we actually telling you something that's useful? I think the answer to that's pretty obvious.
It is. And all the links to Gregory Mannarino's fantastic work are below and also in the blog. And what can I say? I love having you on. It's been too long. I'm
Yeah, too
sorry I
long.
missed you physically in Vegas, but we'll make this happen. And
Absolutely.
yeah, we have more things to talk about.
Lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff. So I'd like to close out by saying thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being
Thanks for
here,
having me.
Gregory. And until next we meet, everybody, please be safe out there. Bye-bye.